A very good afternoon to everyone. First of all, thanks for everyone being here for this interesting topic, which is battery and charging as one system for the Indian conditions. I believe that's a very interesting topic to take at this point of time. The reason being, as we are accelerating the adoption of electric two wheelers and three wheelers in India, it's highly imperative that the battery and the charging system works hand in hand. As to say, they communicate with each other, right? So we have a very interesting panel. I'm not going to take much of your time. I'll put things in perspective and then we'll start with the discussion immediately. So when we talk about electric mobility, right, two wheelers, three wheelers, we always talk about terminologies such as what is the range of the vehicle, how fast the vehicle is getting charged, what is the capacity of the battery. But we should be mindful of one thing, that these systems cannot work in silos. Going forward, with the emergence of software defined vehicles, data, and connectivity, customers expect so much out of the electric vehicles today. They expect a vehicle that is highly reliable, highly safe, and highly efficient. If at all, if these specifications needs to be provided to the customers by the OEMs or the tier one suppliers, it's imperative that the battery management system and the charger talks or communicates with each other, right? When we talk about specifically for India, right, operating an electric vehicle in India, in the Indian conditions, right, it's kind of very tough because we have varied temperatures starting from north to south, inappropriate, or we don't have a proper charging infrastructure still set up. If at all we have a charging infrastructure, there is a lot of improper voltage drop in the grids. So all these aspects will affect the battery and also the charging system and eventually deteriorate the vehicle life. So here we have, with this, in putting things in context, we have a set of panelists who are a mix of OEMs and also suppliers, tier one suppliers. So I would like to go directly to Mr. Vivek Dhawan sir for the first question. So as you know that the electrification is very rapid in India, two wheelers, three wheelers, and also four wheelers to some extent, right? How important do you think designing a battery and charging system as an integrated unit is important, and why do you think so? And especially for Indian context.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thanks for having me today. And thanks for this very relevant question. My brief introduction: I'm Vivek Dhawan, work with Omega Seiki Mobility. I'm responsible for the new initiative in driving long-term and short-term strategy for the organization. And I think very interestingly, when we started this journey of EVs, so I'm talking about couple of years back, when there were mix of battery chemistries. We were experimenting with LTOs, we were working with the NMC, we were working with the LFPs of the world. And if you look at the other side, which is the charging side, so we had on the public chargers, the three protocols, global protocols available. We had CCS, we had CHAdeMO, the Japanese protocol, and then we had the Chinese GB/T protocol also. But if you look at the last and this journey over the years, so I think the market actually has moved a lot towards standardizations. On the battery side, I think the major drivers were the supply chain, right? Because we have a critical dependency on countries other than India to source cells. And obviously, we can't compromise with the performance and the pricing, India being a very, very sensitive market, right? So we have seen, that technology getting more or less standardized towards LFP, right? And we see now, the battery prices also coming down by 60 to 70%. The government also have withdrawn the PME drive, but that is justified. We would, as an industry, would like to be at our own. But we have seen that, transition which have happened on the battery side also. Similarly, if you look at the charging side, so looking at, the different vehicle segments, I think the four-wheelers, whether these are passenger cars or, the medium or the small commercial vehicles. So there is, I think, a lot of standardization which has happened on CCS2 on the DC side, and the AC type 2 on, the slow AC chargers. The two-wheeler and three-wheeler side, the standardization has not happened, though we have the type 7 standards which have come in, and government have also rolled out a BIS on that. But I think more than 90% of the industry still need to adapt that. When we talk about the rapid adaption and economies of scale, so we need to work on that side, bringing around standardization. So I think on the four-wheeler side, we have seen the market getting consolidated on these two standards. On the two-wheeler and three-wheeler side, I think a lot of work, a lot of confidence still need to be built among the customers, among the different ecosystem players to come to a common understanding. Another point, I think this is more relevant when we talk about the fixed battery solutions. But with swapping also becoming reasonably popular in India, with cities like Delhi and Bengaluru, I think we should also work on bringing standardization to the batteries also. The two-wheeler, three-wheeler, what are the operating DC voltages, 48, 60, or 72 volts? What are the connectors, standardized connectors, and most importantly, the weight and the form factor of those batteries. It is just like like we go out, we actually replace LPG cylinder irrespective of which company is manufacturing it. So on the swapping side, I think a consumer look at those standardization on the battery side also, and once we has those standardization on the batteries, so it will bring automatically the same standardizations on the swapping stations also. So there, I think the work has still not started, but that is something which we need to work upon that. But I think on the fixed battery side, we have moved a lot, and the consolidation has already happened, right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for that well thought out pointers. Secondly, ma'am, I would like to go directly to Rashmi, ma'am. Your work on BMS is something very interesting. So, with India, right, the operating conditions for an electric vehicle is highly varied, like I pointed out before. So, with different operating conditions compared to global markets, what design considerations do you think is important or critical for developing building a battery and charging solutions, specifically for India? So, what are the factors do you think is quite important when it comes to battery and charging developed for India?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this panel today, and very esteemed people sitting with me on the dais. It's fun. So, when you ask me what is something that we need to customize for India, I think many things have to be customized for India. When we talk of standardization, usually we adapt to or adopt IEC as it is. Most of the times, for most of the standards, we have been doing that. But yes, for EVs, the challenges are far more than the stationary storage for that matter. So, first and foremost is the abuse that the vehicle and the battery goes through. Very important. I mean, nobody will accept that the vehicle is being abused. Nobody will believe that the battery is being abused. But yes, I mean, no matter how much the OEM will give you the patterns, this is how you have to use it, this is how you have to, design it. I mean, do the functioning of the use the product. Nobody will use it that way. Nobody. I mean, for the vehicles, if suppose your rated is 100 kgs, you will put 150 kgs. You will put even 200 kgs, double the weight, and you will run and then say, oh, vehicle to chalta nahi hai. Battery to perform hi nahi karti. These are the standard problems. I can see smile across their faces. So, first and foremost is designing your system and certifying it for something which is the Indian mindset. Very difficult, very challenging. And none of them will use the operating manual. None of them will use the, the production manual. So first is that challenge that every one of us has. So the second biggest challenge is the awesome terrain that our country has. And the third challenge we have is the wonderful weather and the temperature we have. And our packs are not designed to withstand that kind of pressure and temperature which the environment gives and which the user through his wonderful way of using the vehicles, lands up into the battery. So, if we have to address these, what do we need to do? Okay, everyone will talk about challenges every time. Who is talking about the solutions here? So, now these solutions also come with a cost, and which is something which just Vivekji said, very price sensitive market, extremely price sensitive market, and India is very, very sensitive to it. So how do you deal with it? Somewhere you have to bridge the gap and come to a midpoint where you are not going to compromise on the vulnerability to temperature, to the environment, to the abuse. I will use the word abuse. I will not say misuse also. I will say the word abuse because that's how the poor battery is subjected to. And what we need to understand is that if you are, the safety net and the safety factor should be at least 2 to 2.5 times than what you have usually as 1 to 1.5 times. If you can come up with these factors in your system itself in the design time, I think you can really make it very effective, and these challenges can be really resolved. One more thing is that designing your vehicle and battery pack for easy repairs and maintenance. I mean, US there is a lot very popular thing, right to repair. Okay, many things they push you to right to repair, but here we don't do that. There were certain challenges with the way battery packs were designed initially, so they went into a more robust design style with welding, but that has many more challenges in terms of taking these batteries further to second life and then to recycling. So and what happens is, that adds to the burden of to the OEM also. So when we are talking of designing these ecosystem in such a fashion, we should be able to have a right to repair. Maybe if it is not with the mechanics or public at large, but definitely with the OEMs, there should be some availability so that we can reduce the burden of the capital investment on the OEM, as well as at the same time reduce the burden on the planet for critical infrastructure mining. That is very important. So these things can really bridge it. Thank you.
Very interesting pointer up regarding the abuse, and the word was also specifically abuse, which actually resonates with me as well because I come from an electric two-wheeler background. I have seen people in my hometown, right? If the vehicle has to be loaded with 50 kilos, for example, they will load it with 150 kilos, and they'll come back and say the vehicle is not moving at all. They never follow, or the customers are not much aware of the SOPs of an electric vehicle. So that's one prime point I think we need to be covered when we design an electric vehicle for India. Thanks, ma'am. Next, I would like to talk to Mr. Arjun, sir, who is developing electric vehicles. So for everyday commuters, right, for mobility users, it could be three-wheelers, two-wheelers, right? What ultimate building blocks should be available that enhances the confidence of going into an electric vehicle for the consumer? Is it predictable range, or charging convenience, or a long-term reliability of a battery and the system? So which are the factors do you feel is important and why?
Thank you for the question, and good afternoon, everybody. I am Arjun Madra. I'm the founder and the CEO of Gayatri Electric Vehicles. Majorly, we are known by the brand name Dabang, and we started with the e-rickshaw segment, and now we have entered into L5, which is electric autos as well. So now coming back to your question, Amanathan, that for me, as we have been in this industry since 10 years almost, in three-wheeler specifically, if I have to talk about, I think it's the predictable range which boosts up the confidence, because it's the daily bread of the target users, which we, try to satisfy every day. And because last month I was in Mandla, there's a small town called Mandla, which is 95 kilometers away from Jabalpur. So there was our dealer opening, and one of the driver was very enthused about the product which we launched, which is Dabang Max, which is India's first 7+1 seater auto. That, sir, acha, if I go from Mandla to Jabalpur and take 10 people along and come back, so that means I can travel 190 kilometers. So 190 kilometers means 2,500 rupees for his whole labor for the entire day. So that obviously answer to a lot of questions, and you know what you are asking, that confidence when he had that, okay, it can run up to 190 kilometers, okay, then let's think about it. But the challenging part of implementing higher batteries is the cost, which eventually has to be paid by the end consumers. So this is where I think all of us who are into L5 segment are, you know, focusing on. But in other perspective, that charging infrastructure, yes, it has to be you know, developed. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people on the panel here who are definitely working on it. But if you go further, like tier 2, tier 3, or maybe tier 4 small blocks, they are yet to be introduced to the concept of, you know, fast charging. And if you also see the trend now, if you talk about Bajaj with Gogo, Mahindra with Trio, and now Udo, and other OEMs like OSM as well, you know, everybody has started focusing on, you know, higher battery packs. Because now everybody is understanding, eventually the crust of it is the confidence of the user that, yeah, mera 200 kilometer ye gaadi chalna chahiye, and I can earn up to 2000 to 3000, whatever the earning pattern of their the operations is. So my request to all the OEMs who are into battery manufacturing is to, you know, find a solution where OEMs like ourselves can, you know, push more and more battery, which can add more value and more income to the customer at a very reasonable cost. Because without the support of the battery manufacturer, we can't do anything, because the battery, your motor controller, chassis, these 5 components cost you about 65% of your BOM. So obviously the focus has to come on the battery majorly, because I think everybody who is OEM into L5 will agree with me this, that we need to come together to, you know, lower down the cost, so that eventually the benefit can be passed on to the end consumer. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, sir. Two interesting points which I had a thought over it is, so charging infrastructure is something nationwide problem. I think the government is working very hard to set things up. So you mentioned about predictable range, right? So predictable range, doesn't it change based on the usage of the particular driver, owner, and stuff? Because that's where everyone is getting it wrong. The predictable range, the OEM says it's 150 kilometers, like for example, right? But actually on the road, it comes around 90 to 80. So the predictable range there is something.
So this is where the terminology has changed. You know, there is one certified change which is approved from the ICAT or NATRAX or ARAI. For example, a lot of OEMs are claiming that we have a range of 296 kilometers. So now the new concept is, sir, what is the real range? Yeah. Real range has to be added on your catalog, because the customer won't understand the certified word, first of all. So we have to be very local and desi in terms of, you know, understanding the way people are perceiving us. So obviously whenever me or people like us pitch to our dealers and eventually get pitched to the end consumer, we talk about real range. Certified range is good for marketing, but actually the core is the real range, where the 190 should be there, not below that.
So, when you say certified range versus real-time range, it's good for tier 1 cities, I believe. But for when we go down to tier 2 and tier 3, where I come from, people start debating. Then why are you putting the certified range as 200? That's where the real challenge lies for tier 2 and tier 3. But yeah, thank you. Thanks for the insightful thing there, sir.
I think just to add to what Sir said,
Please.
I think increasing size of the batteries to, to answer the ranging anxiety is obviously one of the solutions. But actually, we actually have taken as an OEM 2 approaches. One is, as you rightly said, tier 2, tier 3 cities where, the charging infrastructure is still not developed. So we have actually gone for that approach, just increase size of the battery. When we started manufacturing L5 vehicles, we started with 7.5 kilowatt batteries. Okay. And obviously, we actually did not have a single 7.5 kilowatt battery. I'm talking about the year 2017. And we used to put, 2 batteries in parallel to, make that capacity to 7.5. But now we have seen, the single battery units in L5 going up to 15 kilowatt hour also. But if you look at the tier one cities where, and, NCR or, cities like Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Surat, Chennai, where the charging infrastructure is built to a reasonable extent, we have actually taken a different approach. We have not increased size of the batteries. We have kept it between, let's say, between 8.5 to 10 kilowatt hour. But we are giving an unlimited range to our customers by, enabling these batteries to charge in 15 minutes. So, we have seen our some of our e-commerce customers or some of our, DCOs who actually drive our passenger vehicles doing up to 400 kilometers also in a day, right? So these are two different approaches, but then you have to see, looking at, how reasonably good your charging infra is and where, where are the geographies, where are you, running your vehicles.
Understood, sir. Ma'am, you have a comment for that?
I have a different perspective to add to this. So what he said was make the battery pack bigger. What you said was give a 15 minutes charging. Okay. Now with addition to these two, how about improving the efficiency of the battery and the vehicle inside to actually have a 30% addition into the range? That is something that should be really thought of by all the OEMs right now, because given the current geopolitical crisis, number one, given the infrastructure shortage that we all are going through. I mean, we were just even talking outside, that how about the interest, and this is also about charging infrastructure and batteries together. We know that there is an infrastructure crisis. I mean, I would call it a complete crisis. I would not say that we are in a developed stage as yet. It's a crisis because, so how do we actually improve the life of the battery, the energy available from the battery and into the vehicle for increasing the range? So here one component plays a very significant important part is the battery management system. If the OEMs really can look into this and adopt and adapt both to active balancing systems, this will be a massive game changer for all the OEMs at the moment. Because right now they are not looking into it. And yes, there is a trade-off when it comes to the price and the range, but I still feel that the range would really be increased by 30% there. So adding to your bigger size, adding to 15 minutes charging or a 10 minutes charging, that has also come now, along with putting a good battery management system with active balancing would change the way the EVs are perceived.
I totally believe to that comment, ma'am, because I think a lot of innovation today comes from BMS, right? Motors, yes, we do have, but the active innovation starts with the BMS. Thanks, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So, Vivek sir, I would like to go back to you again on the next question. See, the charging behavior varies differently according to the fleet owners, the personal owners, right? So, and also the commercial operators. So they have varied. Some people charge it till there is 1% of charge in their battery. Certain people charge it multiple times in the same day. So a lot of things are being, like I said, we don't have a proper charging protocol to say, right? Given in this kind of a scenario, how should an infrastructure planning account for the different usage patterns of the vehicle? So certain people charge it multiple times the same day. So
Got it. Yeah. So I think we need to take possibly, a segmentation approach here, because, we would like to see all the, use cases differently. Just to take, as you rightly said, a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or even a four-wheeler personal owner, right? So, what he looks for when he actually, thinks for, charging his vehicle is obviously, the lowest cost, The second thing is the convenience of charging. And, most of the personally owned vehicles, people would like to charge it maybe an overnight, right? So these are the three things they look at it. So what kind of infra we should build for them? I think here, we should see, the residential societies or, RWAs taking an approach where we need to actually enhance their existing, I would say, electrical wirings which can take a load between 2.5 to 7.5 kilowatt hour. This is very simple, but this is what needs to be done. I think it can actually answer their requirements of convenience, their requirement of keeping the cost to the lowest level. And obviously, they don't have time. They will go to an office in the morning, come back late evening, so they can charge it overnight also. And just enhancing the existing AC infrastructure is required for that, in my opinion. But when you look at, as you rightly said, the fleet operators who run these commercial vehicles, so, the use case is entirely different. What you start looking at is, very high uptime. You start looking at the opportunity charging also. And these are the requirements, and there is no time, there is no actually, the overnight charging thing here, but you're looking at the opportunity charging, right? So what you require as a charging infra, obviously you require, the DC chargers, minimum 50 kilowatt going up to, 150 kilowatt also. So you need to build that utility systems across, you need to have those kind of loads available, which can actually cater to these requirements. And then where should we have these chargers? Obviously, in their hubs where actually they unload their vehicles, and some of, the other spokes also, the unloading and, the loading happens. That is extremely important. But I think one important point here is, which is extremely important and, on the short-term basis is integration with grid for these, high demand charges. That is extremely important, because I'm not talking about, 2.2 or a 5 kilowatt load. I'm talking about a load which is around 75 kilowatt. The technology also comes in. All these chargers should be smart. They should be, IoT enabled chargers. The fleet operator should see which charger is available, right? He can go there and charge, right? The grid integration in terms of when I should start charging, right? And, avoiding those peak load charges. That is extremely important. And maybe, this integration, if it is even smart, so we can look at, leveraging, the grid when it is not on, the normal charging, but, we are bringing solar or wind into it. So all these things, if we can start looking, with this grid integration part, can definitely help us to bring this charging infra for fleet operators. And I think another point for all these two operators is their right to charge, right? So they should have all those compliance related permissions from the authorities that would like to charge at their will and at, all these stations which have been built for their different use cases, right? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think that the word of smart grid, right, that right now resonates very greatly with Europe and North America. I think those kind of infrastructure coming down to India, of course, it takes a bit of a time, but that is something very essential for us to understand when you can rightly charge when the grid is not at the highest capacity.
Yeah, right? Because, it is extremely inconvenient to upgrade, the rating of your transformers. Yes. So that is why you need to be smart. That is one part. And secondly, why not give that energy back to your grids? Why can't, have those vehicle to grid options also available? So this is actually will, build a lot of, confidence in the entire ecosystem if you have those, smart grid integrations for these, cases where the demand of charging is extremely high in terms of loads.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Vivek, sir, once again, back to you. I'm sorry, Arjun, sir. So from a vehicle development perspective, right? So you're into L3 and you're developing a lot of load vehicles. So how do you manufacture and make a trade-off between the battery size, the vehicle cost, as well as the range expectation? So that always is a kind of a trade-off, right? The lower the battery pack size, the lower the range, and of course the profitability. So you're caught in the sides. You're sort of kind of a circular problem. So how do you try to manage that?
So obviously it's a vicious circle and a very bad position that we are into. But so earlier back in the days, how our forefathers used to do business was ki this is my BOM, this is my operational cost, and this is how much I need to earn on this, and then this will be my launching price. But now the working has been opposite. What customer needs is a 3 lakh rupees auto. Then how to make a 3 lakh rupees auto. But he also needs a 200 kilometers range. Or in some cases, like Sir said, in 15 minutes charge. So OEM has to do a reverse calculation, obviously. And like I said in my before question, that it requires a lot of support from a lot of people. It's not only about me or the owner, the promoters, or the top management of the company. It is more about the suppliers and the vendors through which we are also, working. So it entirely depends. And if we talk about passenger, let's talk about e-rickshaw first. What is the trend going on? Okay, now the e-rickshaw has supposedly become a little more widened than the before e-rickshaws. So in a verbal category, we say it's a L4 category instead of L3. Why? Because the end user wants 8 people to sit on that e-rickshaw, but he also needs 170 kilometers of range. But the cost can't be more than 2 lakh rupees. So now the reverse calculation should be such that I tell my project manager, okay, we got a problem, and this is what we need to focus on. That the range should be 180 or 190, and the power should be this. The capacity should be 4-seater or 6-seater. So it is obviously not a very good position to be in, but it is very learning because you understand the depth of the consumer needs.
Yeah.
And this is where everything lies on. I can't make a rickshaw because I love it. I want to make it because it should benefit the end user, right? And the services which the charging infrastructure people like Weber is also, working on it. So it is corely depending on the need. And yes, a lot of negotiations and a good communication skills is required so that the people can trust your vision and your BOM costing. But on a very practical note, 65, like I said, 65% is your top 5 things, which is chassis, battery, charger, powertrains, and painting and everything, right? So about 65%, if you can control, rest 35 can be taken care automatically. And out of 65 is 35 is about battery. So you know where your focus should be. You know whom to negotiate with more and how we can bring that cost down with delivering what the customer needs. So this is how, there is no formula. It's just all about the reverse calculation and understanding their needs.
No, I completely agree to it because this vicious circle is not just for one single OEM, it's for the entire EV industry.
Right.
Right? So hope we have an answer out of it soon. And that's it.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to now talk to Mr. Vaibhav, sir. The question is towards you because you come from a platform provider standpoint, right? So how important do you think is interoperability and common charging standards? And how do you think that will benefit the Indian ecosystem? And do you believe that that will have a smooth charging and good experience across customers? So interoperability and common charging standards.
Hi, my name is Vibhav and I am a co-founder with YoCharge. We basically provide e-mobility based platform solutions to our clients, addressing problems like uptime occupancy for charge point operators, range anxiety for the fleet operators. Now, when we talk about the interoperability thing, okay, so there are, let's say, this problem has 2 layers. The first layer is, as I think Vivek sir stated earlier, that you have to have standardization in the, let's say, the charging protocols. So maybe CCS2, Type 2, which are pretty much common in India now, also Type 7, which is coming for 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers. So you have to have those standard charging protocols applied across all vehicles, so that the charging infra which is in place can cater to all kind of vehicles which are there. Comes the second layer, which is the interoperability of the charging network. Now, this is also a problem which has been addressed by us on the northwest corridor as well as from the west to south corridor. So what we have done is, to our fleet operator partners, we have provided a single platform where they can use charges from different networks, and they don't have to go to different apps or these kind of things, and the settlement and everything happens real time for them. Also, let's say an access for their operator managers, where obviously, let's say when we talk about the commercial vehicles, the drivers are not that much tech savvy. If you ask them to, take a screenshot of something and send it to WhatsApp to a particular person, that is not going to happen, right? So you have to assist that. So we have provided them an access for the fleet operator managers, where the driver can call up and they can just plug in, and they are going to get the vehicle charged somehow. So this is how the interoperability thing looks like, and it is getting addressed. About the, let's say, the mandatory things which will obviously show up in the coming months, in the let's say coming months or coming years, let's say, will be a regulatory mandate, where obviously the government is also trying to push. They have appointed BHEL as the nodal agency, where you have to, obviously they'll be pulling up all the charging infra and showing it on a single platform. Also, the second thing will be, it will be a market requirement across the segments. So let's say the fleet operators will also require this kind of thing. The charge point operators will also require this kind of thing to increase their occupancy. More visibility, more occupancy.
Right, right. Thank you, sir. Next is something related to battery swapping and fast charging. I think, Naveen, sir, this question is directed to you. So we have battery swapping technologies now. We also have fast charging and home charging technologies evolving rapidly, right? So how do you see these charging models complementing different mobility applications? So yeah. So you are an expert in CTO of Sun Mobility, and you are into battery management solutions.
Thank you for the invitation and being a part of the panel. I'm Naveen, worked 36 years in automotive industry and retired from it. I worked with Honda, Tatas, and last 20 years I was with Mahindras. I had launched projects Scorpios and Thars. I was the head of R&D for all these products before. Last few months I have taken over the new assignment in electric vehicles. So though I am a CTO, but I am an engineer by now work, because I started learning and it's only few months of experience. So maybe the youngest in this forum to address any electrical questions. But getting into this last about a year, what I have observed, first thing major why we are lagging is the bandwidth of the technology which we are using in India. We are trying to catch up with the world's electrification, but we have yet to catch up a lot on the bandwidth of the R&D and the technology advancement and innovation within our own domain. Because as in ICE engine or ICE vehicles, where we have a lot of expertise within India, especially Tatas and Mahindras, where we have homegrown our own R&D and we are really competing with the world. But in EVs, we are trying to catch up with the ready-made things. And this is the one major difference which I have found while implementation of electric vehicles in the country, that we are trying to possibly work out a single kind of solution that this is the best or this is better or this will work. So while all this is definitely as a starting point, and we have said that we are learning, that's the real thing, we are learning. So in my aggregation of last 1 year, I have seen it's not only one technology which is the best. We have to have a mix of all, and it's a use case basis. If you see like the cars which you all use, if you have an electric car, in general, we don't use more than maybe 5-10% of the total time a car is acquired. In 24 hours, how many hours we run? 1 hour, 2 hours at the most. In general, I'm putting an average. So it's almost about 80 to 90% of the time the vehicle is not in use. But we are putting a full-fledged value into it, a full-fledged battery system into it. Now, this is one use case. Another use case where we have vehicles like buses, trucks, which go on long routes. Buses which go on a circular route, and trucks and all which go on a long route. So now that's a different requirement. They run almost 15 hours a day, maybe 16 hours a day, something like this. Then we have a third use case which goes 24 hours a day, which we may not be having a day-to-day exposure, but we know cement industry or such industries where mining things are happening almost 24 hours. They want to work 24 hours. Practically, they end up in 20, 22, 23, 23.5, even that high as I have seen in my entire career. So these are the kind of use cases you see from 10% a day to almost 90% a day use cases. So how do we look at one single solution? So solution is good for everything. Like fast charging is also good, home charging is good, swapping is good. So it's all about use cases. How do we utilize the infrastructure and what is our need? So for home, for normal cars, home infrastructure is the best. For long range vehicles from end to end, which runs to run 3, 4, 500 kilometer a day, definitely fast charging is a solution. And the third one, where it's a circular routes or where the things are required 24 hours a day as a requirement, we need to have swapping as a core solution. If we see into swapping in the last 1 year, we could do a lot. Even I didn't got a patent, one patent in my entire career of 36 years. But in last 1 year, I could get one patent, like I applied, of course, in EV. So swapping is now getting inroads into high range also, longer range vehicles. So these are some of the things which we are learning and trying to do. So a mix of all three has to be innovatively thought of, designed technologically, and then implemented. So this is where I see the future, that all three will be there, but how to combine with a particular use case will be the best solution for the electrification.
Yeah. So just to follow up on that question, sir, there have been a lot of two-wheeler OEMs who have been trying to implement battery swapping technologies, right? But not many have been successful. So where do you think that we are lacking? Is it the infrastructure standpoint, or it is the standardization of the battery standpoint, or why is that we are lacking in this space?
I'm sorry, maybe I'm put out with my background being an R&D person for 36 years. Here again, it's R&D which is lagging.
Okay.
Because this is what I could at least find out. Maybe others will have a different view, definitely, because everybody comes from a own expert area. Why I'm saying R&D, see here also, it's the entire system, how do we handle? See, it's not that I need a better material, I need a higher capacity battery. Of course, if you see even automotive, we started with the Bullock cart, today we are on the flight. So, and it's not that we don't want to improve efficiency of Bullock cart. Bullock cart also needs a efficiency improvement, cycle also needs efficiency improvement, two-wheeler also needs, four-wheeler also needs, and aeroplanes also need. So everything which is there today needs efficiency improvement. So rather than looking at that, what is a better proposition, definitely aeroplane is better than Bullock cart. But that doesn't mean we can discard Bullock cart. So my intent is, even if it is a Bullock cart, it should be designed in a proper way, the way maybe I have designed in Mahindra, or anybody, a designer sitting in a design office is designing, but we don't do. And then maybe sometimes we creep ki Bullock cart acha nahi hai. It's not Bullock cart, it's a design of the Bullock cart. So what I'm saying, it's all about our management system, how we are handling the entire ecosystem. I just shared all three are good, whether it is swapping, whether fast charging or slow charging or any other system. But how do we handle it? So in the same way, we have materials available. We have NMC in the battery. We have LFP in the battery. Now we are getting into some. We are saying sodium-ion is the best. We are all running. I just went to Hong Kong battery show last week. Sorry for the motor. 3-4 days I was there. But in China nobody is doing that. But in India, I got a feel that we are all running. Even I myself. The moment CATL said the sodium ion is available, I called up CATL office and made them 10-20 emails. Bhai, sodium ion kab de rahe ho? Meko range badhani hai. I'm a novice here. I don't know much about battery, but now I know something. So, but when I went to Hong Kong, 3 days spent, they said nothing doing. They are still honoring NMC, which we are, I'm telling you, sorry to use the word, discarded. Not everybody, but many people are saying, NMC, no, आग लग जाएगी, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा. अरे कुछ नहीं होता यार. I can sit on the battery and prove it. So it is not that way. So this is what I learned recently in the last week. NMC is still a very preferred battery. It's not the best, of course, but it is still preferred. Again, a use case. Lithium is still a use case. Sodium ion also will come. It's again a use case. Sodium is so costly today, but it's a slow charging. It can be used for one purpose, not for every purpose. So the point is how intelligently we handle our materials, we handle our systems, which we just said. I fully respect ma'am's view. The battery management system. This is the heart of everything. Do you know that every year the battery degrades about 2 to 3%? Every year, roughly. And we add to it. How? Slow charging, maybe 1.5%, fast charging 3%. Now, shall we do show? If we do slow, trucks will be standing on the roads. Not required. So, it has to be optimized. So, further, even if we don't do thermal proper, like many people I have seen, chillers not working, still batteries are charging. It can catch fire. It can reduce life of the battery by almost as high as 30 to 40%. If you do at a temperature, normal battery charging temperature should be around 25 degrees. I'm sorry, getting more into R&D. I'll stop here. Just one last line. 25 degrees is the temperature which should have the best battery life. But we even charge at 35, 40, 45. Because we know cutoff will be at 50, तो 50 तक चलाएंगे. चिल्लर को क्यों यूज करना है? अरे यार चिल्लर उसकी एफिशिएंसी बढ़ाने के लिए, जो कि बैटरी इज अ कॉस्टलिएस्ट आइटम. 40-50% the cost of the vehicle is battery. So sorry I got into data, but I just share these things because these are the things which we all should understand. And I can tell you, even the current NMC, current LFB can make our world further better by, I fully agree, 30%, I can add 5% into that with mine. So it's a combination of all the things, and it's not the material of the battery, it's the management of the battery or the entire ecosystem, not only battery and the charging system. Because when I'm saying, if one particular battery, you do slow charging, it will have X life. You do fast charging, it will have Y life. Now what do I do? Shall I stop fast charging? No. Then what should we do? We should have a combination. What is a customer need? As he rightly said, customer needs 190 kilometer. Like in ICE vehicle, we have started writing real-time FE. Stickers, if you say nowadays, there are stickers on the vehicle which show real FE. Earlier we used to give ARAI FE. That ARAI gives so much of kilometer per liter. Now the real efficiency on road is given, the sticker is available. So we should start using those stickers that real efficiency is 150 kilometer rather than 190. So that customer can plan well. And we as maybe the people who are driving this should teach a customer or should take a project as a one project. And for this project, what is my battery management system? And what is my infrastructure for charging? Slow, swapping, or other, everything is good. I'm not saying we are doing swapping, so swapping is the best. No. Swapping is for some projects. Fast charging is for some projects. Slow charging is for some projects. So how intelligently we utilize all these resources combined with battery, because every battery is not designed for everything. Let's take that point. One battery I can't put for slow, fast and swapping everything. There is a battery design also accordingly. So the entire integration, entire management has to be done in a proper technological way. We can have furthermore 30-35% even higher profits than what we are doing today. Rather than running on higher capacity and all, because that will increase infrastructure. There is no end to it. 100 किलो के ऊपर 200 किलो बैठ जाएगा, फिर 400 बैठ जाएगा, वो बैठने दो, मिसयूज होने दो. बट हमारा R&D वालों का है कि वी शुड इम्प्रूव आवर एफिशिएंसी सो दैट ठीक है उसको 200 में कमाई होती है तो लेट हिम अर्न, he will appreciate our product. So my summary is that it's not about materialistic or not about the requirement, it's about the intelligence which we put in, whether to manage a battery or marry a battery with the charging system is the future which we need to work on. Sorry for a long session, but
No problem.
दिल में काफी कुछ था. After Hong Kong visit, I thought I should share that summary with the team.
No,
over there.
it's all good for to have insights. I think that's what we are all here for. Ma'am, you wanted to comment on that? A quick one, please.
Yeah, I wanted to add 2 quick points. Number one is the consensus between people or between OEMs for the standardization, which is missing currently. I mean, I sit on standardization bodies as well for EVs and batteries and stationary storage. And we've been trying a lot to bring some consensus between the OEMs, but that's not happening. So what one of my friends here said that, okay, fine, forget the OEMs, I've put one more system on top of it so that, people can do. But that is not the end or the, final answer to it. We need a consensus between people to come for the larger perspective good of the users, not just look at their own profits.
Right.
Initially, when the market is trying to be built on, and when you're building an ecosystem for EVs. Number two, there were certain more points that I saw, was listening to all the panelists here. One thing is that we have to also look into how we will design these systems. Like once he said that, we need to have a lot of charging infrastructures with 70 kilowatts and 150 kilowatts. I agree with that, it is required. But the grid today in any part of the country is not equipped and it's not stable enough to handle that kind of load. So what you can also look into is having second life batteries integrated with renewables out there, which second lives could come from the EVs itself, because now I think a lot of second life batteries would come out from all the EV segments, whether it is 2, 3 and 4-wheelers and buses. So if that would come out, that will make a very good infrastructure. And we already have collaborations with a lot of EVs, OEMs to get their batteries and put them into second life. So this makes a very good, important agenda there. The third thing that I realized is that we're talking about battery management systems. We're talking about an ecosystem development in terms of charging infrastructure. But what we are missing here is that how does every bit and piece of the vehicle communicate well within each other, inside the vehicle, and there is a good communication outside the vehicle.
Right.
So this aspect has to be very well controlled and adapted and accomplished into the system. Otherwise, we will keep having lot of troubles with the EVs, which were there with the in the beginning with the two-wheeler segment and I don't know, not much in the three-wheelers, but yes, in two-wheelers there was a lot of it, and they're still ongoing. And these communications between the vehicle and the charging infrastructure, between the charging infrastructure and the grid, so the interoperability and intercommunication between all of this ecosystem has to be very robust and on a uniform platform. This will also save us from the cyber threats that we are very vulnerable to. Right. We are talking of V2G, we are talking of V2L, vehicle to load, vehicle to grid. I mean, that is all we are talking about. In fact, right now with the AI Summit, we are talking of P2P. Vehicles will also be included in P2P, that is peer-to-peer trading, not just on the stationary side, but that is the beginning, and then you'll even have vehicle-to-peer trading. So in that case, we have to be very sure of what we are getting into in terms of the protocols, in terms of communication, in terms of effectiveness of the battery management system, because you are all vulnerable to cyber threats. Yeah. So this is what we've been doing at Vision Mechatronics. A lot of work we've done on the BMS. We have our own indigenous BMS. And something that he very rightly said, that is, if the thermal grading is not correct, battery mein aag lag jayegi, and there'll be a lot of problems, and people have moved on to, people are still at NMC, and NMC is not bad. Trust me, NMC is not bad. I've worked a lot with NMC batteries. If you have a good, robust BMS, you have not compromised on it, you will not have a fire. Right. That is for sure. And in 15 years, this is like now my 16th year in this industry with batteries. I have not had a single incident of warranties or fires with this, because it really makes a difference if you have the right quality and the right BMS there.
Also the right communication between the systems.
Absolutely. Communication is must, whether with humans or with EVs. It's important.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So now I would like to go to Mr. Abhinav, sir. For a fleet and commercial management, fleet and commercial mobility, right? How critical is charging turnaround time and energy availability in order to determine the operational viability of a vehicle?
Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Abhinav Kalia. I am the CEO and co-founder of Arc Electric. We are the pioneer into the B2B solution, providing the 4W platform to the corporate and the PSU sector. So it's a very well question been asked, and it's very important to understand the criticality of that turnaround time and the availability of the charging infrastructures. So if you need to understand that, we need to understand the bottom of the pyramid, like who actually going over the charging stations and how actually the charging take place over there. So if you're talking about, we've been starting with the era in 2020, wherein the 4W been introduced into the corporate world. People are not aware about it, like what actually the delivery come out of that. We have the anxiety of the range at that time. For 100 kilometer, we're getting 50 kilometers, 70 kilometers, and so on. Like the development of the technology evolve over the period of 5 years, we have reached to that maturity wherein we claiming around 600 kilometer per charge and so on. But still, the anxiety is remain the same. So because there is a lack of infrastructure developed for EV to run the show to the last mile deliveries. So we need to understand like the turnaround time is plays a very critical role, and availability of the charging station is also important because it helps us to generate the revenue out of that. So if you're talking about in terms of the turnaround time, we've been talking about people are very anxiety and anxious about that the battery will get into the charging of 100% position within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. If you're talking about to drivers who actually been going over there, for them, every minute, every hour count for their per day wages for that, and the revenue generate for the company, and the uptime for the vehicle to run and generate the revenue for the owner of the company. It's a TCO cost for them. So we need to understand that the more the people who've been aware about the flexibility in terms of the education being given to the bottom of the pyramid of people who have been a driver, how to actually utilize the charging station over there, what are the problems they are facing over there, because usually what we understand from them is, sir हमने तो गाड़ी लगाई हुई है, एकदम से कट ऑफ हो गया. So cut off हो गया तो क्या हो गया? तो they need to understand. We as the OEM, we are the suppliers. We need to understand the problem of the bottom of the pyramid. So they are not quite skilled education, like how actually to operate with the charging stations over there, how to put the gun into the car, what are the precautions they have to take, and so on. So if we're talking about the turnaround time, earlier in 2020 when we have started with this kind of initiative, the turnaround time is around 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes 8 hours because of the slow charging and so on. But with the advancement of the technology, now it has been reduced to 15 minutes also. And somewhere in the next forum, I'm talking with different panelists a week back with a great OEM who've been into the manufacturing of this EV vehicle. They've been talking about the next stage of development, which is the wireless charging, in which the anxiety will also going to reduce by few seconds, few minutes in upcoming years, so that your uptime will remain high and the downtime will remain zero to that. Because more you have uptime, more you have sweat on the road, the more you burn the rubber on the road, the more you generate the revenue, and more the VC will come to you and give you the checks to increase your penetration and to have the things to be on. And very important thing is, if you would like to increase the penetration and make retailers, the B2C customer to opt it, we have to create the infrastructure. Right now, we have able to generate the infrastructure in tier 1 and metropolitan cities to some extent. So for the last mile deliveries and so on. But if you're talking about somebody who has taken a car for a 600 kilometer range and they have to go to one state to another state, they always have a fear in their mind. Ki bhai, once we reach over there, wo gun chal rahi hogi, nahi chal rahi hogi, and so on. So these kind of mindset needs to be reduced. So in my company, we've been in touch with the Invest India, which is a government of India initiative, wherein we are going to establish a charging station in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, so that people are getting more flexibility, their awareness increase, anxiety will reduce, and they will opting more EVs versus IC, because that is also a requirement for the government of India to opt, because our 90% of import is fuel is coming from the import side. We have to reduce that up, but redundancy also. So this is something which I would like to comment on that. Thank you.
Yeah. So just to follow up on that talk, sir. So what infrastructure or technology gaps do you think needs to be addressed in order to have the uptime to be zero that you're talking about, right? So what kind of infrastructure that you think needs for this kind of a seamless action to go?
See, in metropolitan cities, we are able to achieve at least 60-70% of infrastructure developed over for last mile connectivity. Because if you're talking about the radius of five kilometers, wherein you're getting a charging station very easily, charging station is operational or not, that is a cause of concern right now, which nobody can predict. Because it's introduced a lot of technology like AI come into the picture, your IoT embedded technology, which help you to understand whether the uptime is there or not. If there is any problem, they have to go to the next station. Because I told you in my last answer also, the uptime is very important to for any kind of vehicle to generate the revenue out of that. In terms of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, still we are struggling a lot, because we don't have the penetration mindset of the people to opting the IC versus EVs are very low versus the metropolitan and the developed cities like Delhi NCR and Bangalore and so on. Because we can see that there is a growth of CAGR of 20-25% year on year, but on the remote location, still we are struggling in terms of infrastructure to be developed over there, mindset to be evolved over there. Though we have penetrated with the help of the two-wheelers and so on to be get maturity over there, but in terms of infrastructure, last mile connectivity, and to develop this on ground requirement for infrastructure is still very bleak, and we are far away from them. For that, I appreciate the budget of this year, wherein the government of India is trying to pump more 12,000 crore rupees to develop the infrastructure for the rural and these kind of requirements to be evolved in next 1 year, while introducing different kind of freebies and PLI scheme for the new startups and the companies who are into the charging operators. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Sir, Naveen, sir, this is for you, since we have been talking about the battery swapping and fast charging technologies. So what is the role of intelligent battery management system in these kind of scenarios? And how do you see this improving safety and performance? Oh, yes.
Hello.
That was a follow-up
Yeah,
question. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I think already touched that point. So it's the same that all chemistries are good, all charging stations are fine, and all type of methodologies are okay. If I tell you a basic thing, very, very basic about battery, which frankly I didn't know earlier. Most of us know, but not exactly that. If we use the battery between 20 to 80% of SOC, we get the best life.
Yes.
So we should not go below 20, we should not go above 80 as an ideal condition. Now it all depends upon. So, and also when you are on the higher side of charging, let us say you want to still go from 80 to 100 or 60 to 80, it should be tapered charging. You should start charging slow. So all this intelligence which I am talking should get into the actual battery charging also. So it's not only battery, it's the battery management system, interface with the cooling. If the temperature is rising, somebody is not using chiller and still try to use, because battery will get charged. But it will start derating very fast. It will start deteriorating. So all those things which we know are put up into the battery management system. So that is the intelligence. It's like AI. So instead of we controlling that, okay, my battery kitna charge ho raha hai, it's put in the battery management system, and if it handles properly, it will give the best life to the battery. So, so there is nothing too great in this thinking, but it has to be done. So that's all, and it can really control everything to the way we want, and that will really improve the efficiency what we discussed, even to the large extent of 30-35% as a overall. It's not only battery life. The battery life, the overall deterioration from the system, and all things put together, including the vehicle efficiency, the communication which doctor was talking about. So everything is controlled by battery. And especially if you say the number one, which we rarely discuss, is the safety. What we see, some fires are now coming up. If you have a proper battery management system, it can communicate well in time and predict and stop the battery or the vehicle from functioning and stop the fire runaways which we are getting some incidences. So all these things, not only the life, the safety and the performance.
Right.
Life is one, safety is another, performance, that what speed you need, what performance you need. So everything can be controlled with an integrated management system. So that's what.
You want to have a comments, ma'am? Or all right. So thank you, sir. So now, so far we have been talking a bit more technical. So this question, Mr. Vaibo, so you can answer this one. This is more of ecosystem partners. So collaboration across vehicle manufacturers, right, energy companies, and charging providers is becoming essential these days to have a successful, seamless connection and seamless experience for customers as well, right? So how should this partnership evolve in the future to have a reliable ecosystem? What is the roles and responsibilities of ecosystem partners within this one?
So in today's scenario, as you can see, there are bilateral partnerships which are already happening. So again, a suggestion, let's say a recommendation, which we can say is more of intelligent ecosystem play, where the OEM, whether it be the vehicle OEM or the charger OEM, is able to, integrate with the platform, provide the real-time information, again, which is being held at the vehicle or the charger level currently. Although with chargers, we have already done the IoT based integration, and we are able to fetch the real time data through the protocol as well as through IoT, both. Now, on the vehicle side, if we are also fetching the real time data, it again adds on. Again, when we talk about the grid, so I think as Rashiji told earlier that in the AI summit, there were P2P, the peer-to-peer energy trading, which was happening. So we have a product already, which obviously with the Ministry of Power and in India Energy Stack and REC as the nodal agency there, we have already done the trading with one of the charge point operators in Delhi NCR and a residential producer or prosumer who is generating surplus energy through their solar power plant, and we are able to trade that energy real time. So if this visibility is already happening through grid, obviously the vehicle to grid and everything is possible. But again, everything comes with the intelligent ecosystem play. So if we are able to fetch the real time data from all the perspectives, let's say all the partners, vehicle, charger infra, or the fleet, and then comes the grid, we can certainly bring in the ecosystem play, and we can make the system more intelligent.
Right, right. Just for the mindful of time, one last question to Rashmi ma'am. Just in few words, which is the best breakthrough battery chemistry or charging technology should be looked into the future? The final thoughts on that.
I get this question everywhere, whether it is a stationary storage event or it is an EV event. And they ask me to choose one, and I'll say I will not
and please
choose
be
one.
specific for India.
No, I'll not choose any for India. Why? Because India is a very diverse geography. India is a very diverse land in terms of the usage and the consumer behavior. And India has a very different temperature gradient throughout the country. Okay? So one chemistry or one charging style will not fit for the entire country. No. What we need is a hybrid mix of technologies. We need a hybrid mix of charging infrastructure. We need a hybrid mix of battery technology. And we need a hybrid mix of communication also. Just like how in different regions of India we speak different languages, yet we all are Indians. Same way, we need different battery chemistries, we need battery technologies in terms of, and you know what, I have gone ahead and done even battery hybrids, where I've done lead lithium hybrids. Now I'm doing sodium and vanadium and lithium hybrids for such difficult, vehicles as well as stationaries, because what happens is the capex becomes a challenge, like how we said 2 lakh mein fit karna hai. So capex becomes a challenge. So somewhere you have to get the best of all the worlds, and that is what India actually deserves. So in my opinion, if you ask me, we don't need one single chemistry, we don't need one type of charging infrastructure, we need a hybridization, and that will actually help strengthen the grid as well. Because without the grid and the electricity infrastructure, the EVs are not going to take off. So you need a mixture of all of this. And Now, which chemistry or which type of charging infrastructure, which type of communication protocol, leave it to the market dynamics. They will take care of which is, techno-commercially more viable, will have a more market share, which is easy to use, will have a more market share. Because, as a human psychology, we don't like anything that is difficult. Somewhere where I have to do a lot of permutation and combinations, I have to do a lot of mix and matches, I don't like it. Right. I want something very simple to use, something very fast, very adaptable and accessible. So if I get that, that is the biggest market share that you can have of the technology there. So I think this is what we've done at our company also at Vision Mechatronics. We've had a lot of hybridizations of batteries together. In fact, not just that, we've even done battery hydrogen hybrids to actually bring out the and I think even OSM has a hybrid vehicle there with battery and hydrogens there. So when you do these hybridization and mixtures of things, you actually achieve a low capex and a low opex.
Right.
So kitna sasta hai, kitna deti hai. All these questions are answered there with hybridization. So in my answer, hybridization, not one tech.
Yes, sir.
Just add on that, CATL has already developed based on your lines. NMC and LFP pack, it is available, so you can order in case you want.
So yeah, so hybridization is the way forward. So we have a lot of tier 1 suppliers here as well. So we can take a thought, hybridization, not one technology is for India. We have to think through this one. So hope we had a great insightful discussion. I would like to thank every single panelist today for giving in insightful thoughts. Thank you so much.